Hey everyone, welcome back to the Robert Timmons Show. Our guest today is John Snyder, an author of Mindset Drives Performance. He's a coach, and his focus is push, pull, lift. Push out negative, pull in positive, and lift up people. Welcome to the show, John. How you doing today?
Doing great, Robert. Thank you so much for everything. This is amazing. It's an honor to be on your show.
Where are you calling in from today, John?
New York City.
New
Yeah.
York. That's one place I've never been yet. I've flown into both airports, but I find that when I did fly in, for an example, that place looked like a it just looked surreal, like buildings coming out of the water. It was just unreal when I looked at it from the sky.
Oh, it's amazing. Flying in and coming in LaGuardia over the water, and then you see the whole city. You could just feel the energy all the time. I've lived in other places, but coming back to the city, you could just feel the vibe and the energy. It's always on. It's always there. It's awesome.
Oh wow, I can definitely feel that right from you. Now, John, before we get into what you are doing today, because I think it's impressive what you are doing today. Let's find out more about, let's swing back to what brought you here. What's your background in life, and kind of what started you?
Absolutely. So, really unique experience. My first 10 years of life is pretty amazing. I feel blessed for it. My brother was afflicted with a medication, and he had an adverse event to the medication. And at a year and a half, he became severely mentally retarded. And I was not born yet, so I'm 10 years younger than him. So when I came into the world, at first I had this older brother who was helping me and teaching me. And within the first 2 or 3 years, I went from younger brother to peer. We were coloring together, we were playing with blocks, we were engaging with all the toys. And then very quickly at 5, when I started to go into elementary school, I got on a bus and he stayed home. And at that point, I became a caretaker and an older brother to somebody that I grew up very quickly, who was a younger brother and then a peer. So a very unique situation growing up. I didn't know it going through it. It was just normal to me, right? Every experience that we have is always normal until somebody else kind of points out, like, "Whoa, that's very unique." Some people take 90 years, right, to become this caretaker of their older brother. But I did it within the first decade of my life. And it really gave me a unique experience about what it means to give 100% into everything you do. Um, Empathy, I think, is such a strong component and driver of performance. And just to see him give 100% to get out of a chair or to eat, and you could feel his face would scrunch up, and he'd really think and concentrate. Sometimes his tongue would come out, like, to really concentrate just to get up. And me as a younger brother, I would be mimicking and empathizing with that, and seeing how I took 100% of his energy just to get out of his chair. And going through that process, it was a lot in my household. Oh, I don't want to take out the garbage. John, you're lucky you can take out the garbage, right? And it was a lot of I get to instead of I have to. And every time he was there, it was an example of, hey, Kevin would love to go out and take that walk with you, or Kevin would love to be able to do this homework or the project, or whatever I was struggling with at the time. And it quickly changed my mindset into I get to do these things instead of I have to. So that was the beginning kind of journey for me. And then becoming the first one to go into university, and then going into the corporate world, really was amazed. A lot of these people had everything going for them. They had alumni that their parents and everybody went to this university and went to this school. And here I was gritting and grinding and driving and so excited just to be a part of it. And here was people giving 50% of their effort in tests and work in life. And and I just realized that from that point on, it was kind of my calling to say, hey, how can we get people to really use their energy, use their mindset, use their performance to get to that 100%? Because a lot of people are really successful at 60% performance or 80% performance. So what would that mean if we can get them to 100? So progressed through Fortune 500 companies as a sales leader, really driving that home. And what took me to the next level and why I wrote the book was my son got involved in youth sports. And I was always a baseball player, loved playing. And when I went to the first couple of games, I saw how negative the energy has gotten and how they were teaching these kids to basically play flight or fear. And I said, "Oh, whoa, this is not where we should be." So did some research. Then I went on Instagram. I said, "Okay, I'm going to open up kind of this mindset youth training league," and saw that the whole world was like that, that everyone was so negative on Instagram. You put up a post and 12 people would be like, well, this is silly. This is, so that's what really got me to say, okay, this is probably bigger than just youth sports. And that's kind of how my whole journey progressed. And then we met on 30 Days of Excellence because I want to be around people exactly like yourself who are just driving to amazingness, positivity, awesomeness. When we connected, it was like, yes, this is part of my group. This is part of my people. Yeah, we love to connect and talk. So that's kind of what got me to here.
Well, you put out a lot of stuff there, John, and it was all impressive. And you scrunched in like decades worth there. Let's go back. Let's go back to your first decade because they
Sure.
say a child between 0 and 7, that's like their main frame for the rest of their life. And it seems like you learned so much in that 7 years that, as you say, unique, absolutely unique. That your brother was teaching you, then he was with you, and then you were teaching him. That's kind of how it went. And you did it at such a young age. I did it at a little older, more into my teenage years and my own unique, aspect. But yours was very different. And I think that alone just created who you are today. That first decade, that because it's your main frame, it's still within you. It's so deeply emotionally tied to probably every choice and action that you're doing, how you're thinking. Because you say you went into university, you went into Fortune 500, and you're seeing the same things, right? Your mind's definitely, uh, you know, unique, triggered in a different way of looking for patterns. You know, talk about this 100% that your brother does, and how you're seeing it compared to others in the world that you're finding.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's exactly what you said. Through seven, I think what was so unique, I wasn't analyzing my situation. It was just unfolding. And it was becoming, wrinkles in my brain of memory, of thought process, of chemical reactions that, okay, here's the stimulus. It becomes an input. And then how do I react to it? I think the older we get, we start to mess up that process a little bit and put our emotions to it or thoughts to it and our feelings to it or listen to other people. And if you just boil it down to, in sales, say, are you exhausted when you end the day? Right? Are you that workout, that run, that just absolutely exhausted at the end of the day, like my brother is. If I take him out, he loves the experience. He loves going to the park. He loves going wherever we're going. But at the end of the day, 3 o'clock comes around or whenever it is, he hits that couch, he's asleep because it took every fiber of his being to do it. Going out with these sales reps, going out into these organizations and seeing people who show up 15 minutes late to a meeting, leave 15 minutes early to a meeting, show up to meet a customer, show up to meet somebody, and they just go through the motions or repeat or regurgitate without putting that everything in. You should feel exhausted in everything you choose to do. And then the other thing is, exactly how we connected was listen to people, right? Hey, I have this opportunity for you. I think it really fits with your organization. Yeah, let's have I have time. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can make this work. Because if I didn't that day, I can tell you I was operating at 60%. I was ready to go skiing. There wasn't any snow on the mountain. I was kind of being lazy, didn't really want to go run outside in the hills. And then we had that conversation that day, and that just motivated me to say, you know what? There's positive people doing awesome things in the world. I need to go get out. Okay, I can't go skiing today. I'm going to go run today because I need to honor my brother because he can't, right? So that's the mindset that I think I really did the research on, did the exploration with the chemicals and the brain chemicals and why that works, and then tied it to a lot of the goal setting. Uh, we were talking earlier about how goals really affect your life. Why I wanted to see why that really worked, and I think exactly what you said. From 0 to 7, it was that learning experience that I didn't question. It was just, well, what did he need to do? Well, he needed to set a goal. He needed to set a vision. Maybe he didn't even know he was doing it. He probably didn't know he was doing it, right? But he sat in the chair and said, okay, I want to go play today. I have to get up. How am I going to do it? Right. And then he had to go and execute with 100% of his ability. So that I think the key for me is, are we operating the way that Kevin just needs to operate to eat, to walk, to engage in toys or play? And that's been my key to success, is just keeping that in mind, right?
I got to tell you how powerful that is. If our listeners really, really listen to what you just, what you're talking about, that 0 to 7 and how you, and I know you weren't analyzing it, but in time you understood what was happening because, you know, just looking at children now, children that don't have anything, affecting their thoughts and their actions, they show you a lot. We see a lot, like just a child getting up to walk and falling, getting up to walk and falling, getting up and falling, getting up and falling. They don't stop. They just keep doing it
Right.
until they start walking. And those are things that, that we can learn from. And I love that you had your brother teach you such a powerful thing, because who knows what would happen if your brother wasn't around and you were the oldest. Who knows how you would have thought. And this, it impacted your life in such a great positive manner, and it's allowing you to affect other people's lives, right? Now you,
Yeah.
you wrote this book, which I find, I love the name of it, Mindset Drives Performance. Can you talk a little bit about this book and what are these real world workshops, provided in the book about?
Sure. So mindset drives performance. It's open ended, right? It's either bad or good. And the
Mm,
amazing part about it is you get to choose. Um, I was a philosophy minor in school, and one of the stories that always blew my mind was the allegory of the cave with Plato, and how basically this guy was raised in a cave and showed shadow figures behind his head of what the actual items were, and whatever was in front of him, he really thought that's what it was. And then little by little, they basically bring him out of the cave and show him the real items, and his mind's just blown because he was used to just seeing the shadows and he thought that's what reality was. And basically, that's what our reality is. It's the life and the lenses that we look through to shape our lives. So that's what the book's about. It goes through, uh, you know, Jesse talks all the time about 45% of people don't even have goals, and the people that have goals don't even write them down, and then the people that write them down don't even review them or accomplish them. So less than 2% of people don't even know what they're doing out there. So it just starts out basically from all my Fortune 500 experience of writing a vision statement, writing a mission statement, writing everything that you want to become, and owning your life. And then why are the chemicals in your life, or why are the opportunities that, or the way that you react to opportunities, ingrained in you? And it goes a lot through our caveman, cave woman, cave person experience, where we have a negative bias in our minds. So we were in a cave and there was danger outside the cave. So if somebody wanted to leave the cave, your mom, your tribe, your group, whatever, would pull you back in because they were scared to to let you go. They were scared to let you explore. They had set patterns that they did. And if you think about it, that's a lot what goes on with, when I was starting my own companies and going through this experience, moving across the United States. My parents freaked out. Don't do this. You don't know what you're doing. What if this, what if you become homeless? What? And it wasn't because they didn't want me to succeed. It's because they had that negative bias of, oh, you're going outside the cave. There's T-Rexes and craziness out there. Um, and when you can start to understand that process, you really can start to appreciate a lot of the quote unquote haters, right? That when you're starting a new business or a new venture, they're really just trying to protect you. So it goes through a lot of those mindset, and then the chemicals from youth sports. A lot of people operate in this cortisol cycle, this fight or flight. And unfortunately, nowadays, you can look on Instagram or any of the social media, it's polarized. Everybody's ready to either fight or flight, right? Delete the person's comment, block them, or say something mean, right? Like, it is in that mindset instead of opening up and being in a dopamine mindset or an endorphin mindset and letting the chemicals flow. So what it does is it says, okay, if you start hitting goals and setting out goals, you can actually change the chemicals that are firing in your brain, which then change the lenses which you view the world with. And exactly like how you said in your post with the push-ups, hey, I'm gonna try to get to 500. Oh, I got to 500. Now I'm gonna go to 650. Now I'm gonna go to 1260. Well, 1260 sounds like a silly number. So now I'm gonna go to 1500. Every time you did that, your dopamine, your endorphins, all of that fired to get you to overperform. Where a lot of people are living in that cortisol cycle. Oh, I got to do 50 and get that cortisol pumping and get that stress pumping, and then they're spent at 50. But you were able to do 1500 because of the mindset you were in and how you approached it, how you broke down those goals. And then when you reached it, your brain went, ooh, reward, dopamine, you did it. Ooh, let's go again. Reward, dopamine, you did it. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go for 50. Reward, dopamine, you did it. So I think that's what the book does, is give you that basic run through. It's a very quick read, even with the workshops and stuff like that. An hour and a half. You can kind of set your own vision, mission, understand it, and then kind of test your own brain chemistry to see what's successful for me and how am I operating and how am I, visualizing my life. Because it was a big eye opener for me when I started really going through it. That's what I didn't know when I was with my brother, right? There's words and terminology and science behind why he does what he does and how I learned what I learned. Now I just have words and terminology kind of to put around that experience.
Oh, that's pretty cool. The book sounds amazing. And I love the talk about the dopamine, because I really feel that when you understand the control of the dopamine, because we have easy access to everything that can create dopamine around here, like sugar, for an example.
Right.
Just sit there and eat sugar all day. You're like, oh yeah, this is
Oh, this is
great.
amazing. Yeah.
Your mind's like going, oh yeah, let's just sit here and just eat all this all day. But you can use that. Say, listen, I want to do this, so I need to actually create this goal today. For an example, it could be just 50 prospects. For example, I need to contact 50 prospects in order to get that latte that I love so much. But if I don't get that 50, I don't get that latte. So it's a way to play, wag that carrot in front of you that you need to obtain this. And maybe the first couple of days you're like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. But then you're going to start saying, I want that latte, and you're going to really start pushing that. You're going to start creating. Your mind's going to start, when you're hungry, your mind thinks differently.
Yep.
Right. It's after something. And it's after that, for an example, this could be that 50 prospects. I want that 50 because I want that latte. But you really touched on something that I've utilized as a way to push me to get more willpower in the direction so I can highly focus where I want to go. Does
Yeah.
that
And
make sense?
it's 100% true, right? Our mind, our body, it's a gift and a curse, right? Exactly what you said. You can eat sugar and that's then your reward. You can do heroin and that's your reward. You
Yeah.
can drink every night and that's your reward. You still get the same chemicals, you still get the same feeling, but your mindset is driving your performance, which your performance is then leading you down a bad road, right? Or you could do exactly what you just said. Oh, I'm going to call 50 people, I get this. I'm going to do that. And it could be little stuff. Like I listened to David Meltzer the other day, and he had a great point. Some people are really struggling with working out, especially in the COVID environment and everything like that. It could be something as simple as I'm going to put my tennis shoes on today or my running shoes on today. And that might be enough dopamine triggered to get your body to break that habit that you actually go out and run. And it might just start with something as little or as simple as that to break that cycle. And then those little steps that keep going, it could just change the outcome significantly if you get in that cycle. So I think you're 100% on with that thought process, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have it, and they get stuck in that cycle, and it's either successful sometimes too, and I think that's the other thing is minimizing those peaks and troughs. It's very hard as an entrepreneur or a business owner or somebody in sales to go out because you do have these peaks and troughs. Oh, I closed the 15 clients. Oh, nobody's giving me a call back. Oh, I closed 100 clients. Oh, nobody's giving me a call back. But if you can start minimizing those troughs by being focused on your goal, I think you're unstoppable. And I think that's why you're highly successful at what you do.
Yeah, you talk about the troughs. That's collecting data for sure. That's understanding how you work. And if I think a lot of people don't understand, or they're not interested in collecting data, but they don't understand how important collecting data is. Writing down what you did today and doing it every day for 30 days, and you're like, wow. Like for an example, 500 push-ups. It sounds like a lot to someone, right? But before I even got to the 500, I could only do 40. Then I was doing 100. Then I was doing 300. Then I said, listen, I got 100 days left. Let's do a 500 a day. That'll get me 50,000. 50,000. If someone just said, go do 50,000, I'd be like, yeah, right. How am I going to do 50,000? So when you break it down, you see difference. And for an example, a lady, was doing, she was just, I'm just trying, how do you do push-ups? And, I'm trying to tell her. And I said, listen, how many are you doing? She said, I'm doing 10. I said, I'm going to challenge you. Do 20. Do 20 every day. Calculate it for 30 days. And you're going to have 600 push-ups by the end of the month. And that just blew her mind, just thinking that. I said,
Yeah.
so keep me posted and let's see how it works. Because as soon as you change someone's thought pattern on how to create something, their world changes. Because like you say, you can put that in everything you do, negative or positive. The spirals go up or the spirals go down, and it's all about your mindset. It's where your mindset is. Heroin could be your dopamine, like you said,
Right.
and you could be out running, chasing, and those people are hungry. They show you how your mind works. Boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom.
they are hustlers, right?
Yeah,
Look
they
at them.
are.
They work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? That, like, if you took that and put that on a sales call or motivated them in a way that they got the same experience. Now granted that's a much stronger draw, but
Mm.
if they learn the process to do that, right? I think it's just, especially nowadays, exactly what you said, there's so much stimulus around us at all times. And I really fear a little bit for our children because they can get dopamine from 9,000. Like when I was a kid, I had one toy and the toy wasn't really that exciting. And I got, okay, this truck is going to go back and forth. I had to create, envision, imagine. These people have virtual reality kits. They could go to the moon. They could FaceTime with their friend. There is so much dopamine around them. So I think mindset becomes such a driver, and surrounding yourselves with the right people, like yourself and your business partner that we were talking to surround yourself with that group to say, hey, listen, here's the plan, here's the goal, here's the vision. This is why we want to help you. People don't have that, and without that, there's so many distractions. They're out in left field, right field, center field, then they run back. They're all over the place, and you can be, and all of a sudden 6 months go by, A
Yeah.
year goes by. You know,
Yeah.
I know people who stayed in a job for 10 years. And when I ask them the question, what do you hope to get out of it? Or what's your vision? Or what they have no idea. Well, I took this job because it was a job I thought I wanted at the time. And then I had a family, and then I bought a house, and then, the car came. Wow, 10 years just blew by and I didn't even realize it, right? So I think that's so key is to be really focused on what your distraction is. And I do a lot of mild to wild, right? And that's why the heroin example I think really flies with people because it's like, well, are you driving towards that or are you driving towards the success that you want? And again, connecting with you and talking about the positivity and the circle and how you help people, it's just an amazing experience to be part of that because I think we have the ability to do that. Refocus people to say there's probably 90% of stuff that you're not wanting to interact with and you don't even know, you don't even make the conscious decision, you just go and do instead of saying, does this really help my goal? Does this really help my vision? Does this really help where I want to be? Or is this just a time place between breakfast and lunch, or breakfast and dinner? Um, and a lot of people, unfortunately, that 9 to 5 is a time holder between when they eat breakfast and when they eat lunch, and then they say, okay, well, I'm gonna now start my life maybe after that. But that's a large chunk of your life if you're not really intentional with that time.
And that's the key word, intentional, and I think I want to tell our listeners how me and John met. Like John mentioned, 30 Days of Excellence. What it is, I am the painter of millionaires. My objective was, I created a hypothesis to start seeing how painting millionaires would change my life. So I started painting. I'm on my 11th painting now with his Tom Bilyeu, which hopefully we'll be done soon. I got to put more action into it. But Jesse Itzler was one of them. I gave him the painting. I gave a painting to Ed Milet. I gave a painting to Eric Thomas. I gave a painting to Grant Cardone because giving in my past previous experience with Artists for the Ocean, what gave me tools, sent me around the world, rubbed elbows with conservationists. Now I am amongst people teaching me, more details of, wealth, of drive, of grit, of hustle, of all these different things. But it's association is really the key here. And that's how me and John have found ourselves through association. And there is so much amazing people in the group that we are a part of that has caused us to do even more. It's growing us. We're up in a higher vibration of level of with these guys, the information that's shared, the camaraderie, we're like boys and girls, that kind of grew up together in a sense, where it's the ultimate kind of, family gang, kind of thing you want to be a part of, because we're out there doing our best to do our best for others. So, John, you talk about positivity, and how do you see positivity to impact one's life if used on a consistent basis? Now, the reason I really, we're gonna have a good talk about this one because a lot of people do not even care for the positivity. There's a lot of doubt for positivity. There's a lot of, I can't be positive today. I got too much shit on the go here. So I want to see, I want to hear your part of it and how you think in this direction.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the next area of research and study. I really see a lot of articles and a lot of science coming out to back it up. So I think the naysayers are going to start to get some hard facts about, whoa, this really does change the way corporations act, the way people act, the way families interact. But really, you could start very simply by exactly what you said: gratitude, giving. The easiest step you can do to change your life is to be grateful and thank somebody or help somebody. And I think if you can't buy into the whole positivity and I'm going to talk myself up and I'm going to stop the self doubt affirmations, and you can't really get to that level, exactly what you said. I'm going to start with 20 push ups a day, right? Start by thanking people, start by giving one of your gifts away to somebody. Um, Everybody probably knows somebody that's a friend that started a business or is in the midst of starting a business or is doing something on Instagram or Etsy or something. Lend your time, services, and if you have money and resources, lend your money and resources to that person. There's nothing better than helping somebody else in the world. And if you do that, I will challenge anybody to say, I hated the way it felt and it was a terrible experience. I just believe that that little kind of 20 push-ups a day or whatever that is will get you to see that there's something in positivity, and then you'll start to explore it. And then once you explore it, you'll start to see the brain chemicals, you start to see the process, you'll start to see all these things come out. And I think that's where, if you're a doubter or a hater of, oh, it's Pollyanna, it sounds so lovey-dovey, it sounds so touchy-feely, I beg you to try to do that. If your friend just started a business, go like his post. Go like her post. Go put a good review on a book or something that they're doing, and say, hey, listen, and just text them, not to say I'm a braggart and I gave my gratitude to you, but just to say, hey, saw this, really want to support you, really great that you're growing. I love what you're doing, right? And don't be fake. If you don't love it, if it's, something that you don't. But I guarantee there's probably one thing in your life right now that you could point out and say, you know what, I didn't say thank you for that. Whether it was a neighbor, whether it was a friend, whether, and I think that's where you start to see the positivity go. And then once you get that, I'm a firm believer the universe or your higher being or God or whatever you believe in, you get something in return for that, right? Because if you're a science person and you're hard into physics, right? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? So if you put positive vibes out there, there's energy to that. If I go, I love what you're doing, right? Look how much energy is in this, right? There's wind energy, there's movement, there's my energy, there's my mitochondria firing. There is so much energy in this. It has to go somewhere. Now, hopefully it goes to you because we're talking, right? But if it doesn't, somebody somewhere probably caught that energy and it pushed them in a positive way. And bigger picture, if we can all do this, and exactly what you said with the connections on 30 Days of Excellence, or when somebody reaches out, see what they have to say. Yeah, don't waste your time. But I'm not at the level that Jesse Isler is, or Chad, or any of those other things where saying no to some opportunity is going to cost me another opportunity. So I have plenty of time on my schedule to say, okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that. Okay, I don't have time now, but in a month I have time. Let's set up some time. But I think those little things, and all of a sudden the dots start to fall in place, and you set up this path of positivity and excellence. And now you're creating these people who are around you who are positive and creating excellence. All of a sudden you drive, and I think that's the learning. I grew up in a lower social economic background, and I look at why the rich get richer, because they surround themselves with people who are executing and going and doing that task, right? And I think that's a key, is if you put that energy out there, that energy is going to get surrounded by you. If you team up with yourself and you have your team surrounding these people, they're going to automatically be better because you have a 10, 15 person team that's driving towards that excellence. So you can't help but to get caught up in that wave of excellence and positivity. So I think that's the baby step. And then it kind of progresses as you see it self-fulfilling. You just want to do more because you're like, whoa, that was really cool. Why did that random thing happen to me? Ooh, maybe it was because I thanked that person, right? It usually self-fulfills pretty quickly.
And that's reflection. I think that's another good thing for people to learn, not only collect data, but to reflect on what they've done and how it's adjusted and changed them. Because if it's a good thing, you want more of that. You want to start adding that more into your life. It's like, say, for an example, you got a sale. How did it work? What words did you use? How can you duplicate that? So it's just like in your life, whatever you do, you want to grab that good stuff that's working good for you, that creates that emotion, that energy within you. And you say, okay, how can I keep that going? What worked? Or like you say, there's always the opposite, right? So someone, affected you in a way that you went, you got self-doubt, you felt bad, your energy deflated. Don't go there again. You understand.
Right.
And a lot of times you understand that more because we seem to be more in the emotional of the negative than we are in the emotional of the positive. We say, oh, I did so much today. It feels so good, more than I ever thought I could. And then one day, you could sit and do nothing. And all of a sudden time flew by. 8 hours went by and you're like, oh my God, I did nothing today. Like nothing. And you beat
Yep.
yourself up for it. But no, you put out a lot of great stuff there. And I think positivity, I always say, when I go traveling and bad things happen, I always go, it's part of the story. It's part of the story. It's part of the
It's
story.
amazing.
And that's my way of just saying, let it go and keep moving and have, just enjoy that. And sometimes I enjoy having that bad thing happen so I can have a better story. How did I get through
Exactly.
it? You know, Especially in
It's so
traveling.
true.
Hmm.
Oh, I got stuck at the Detroit airport more times than I can imagine, and I could have let it wreck my day. Philadelphia is another horrible airport with all the fog, and I could have let it wreck my day. I've met more amazing people. All right, I always pack an extra power strip because airports are notorious for not having enough power, and
Mm.
I always bring USB things. Just having that and plugging into the wall and putting up a little sign that says free power. I've met more people, right? I mean, I slept at the Detroit airport. There was no hotels. I was there. We had this little powwow going on in the middle. We're singing, we're having this time. I mean, people must have looked at us like we were, out of our minds. But to your point, what's the worst that happens? Okay, I missed that flight and it was terrible, and it was a bad experience. But what we choose to do with it, and exactly what you said, I love that. I'm going to steal that from for myself. Hey, this is part of my story. I love that because then it becomes, oh, another chapter. Whoa, let's see how this ends up. This could be adventurous. So I love it. That's awesome.
No, it's so true. And like you talk about the airport, I think traveling and exercise are great areas to find amazing people because travel, people get this amazing energy feeling. They're excited, they're enthusiastic, they're going somewhere, they're excited about that. And when you get on the trail and you start biking, you start running, you start seeing amazing people out there excited. We're out here, we're jogging, we're getting healthy. I see so many parallels of that. And that's something I see within our group as well, that a lot of that is happening, a lot of especially exercising, but there's a lot more happening, there's a lot of more amazing things. But absolutely take that. You're building your story because you need to talk about how you educate people. You talk about your story like Jesse Etzler always does. He look at it, he ran every day for 28 days, 29 days, actually it was a leap year, and the last few were like marathons every day. And
It's
no one can
amazing.
take that away from them. Like he says, you do it and no one can take it away from you. Just like this 50,000 push-ups, no one's going to be able to take that away from me.
Right.
As soon as I accomplish it. And I'm accomplishing it. So, it's already in
Which
my
is
mind.
amazing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, now I've seen your website. It's all about positivity. That's right. Why I really wanted to bring that up. I think it's amazing. Can you tell us a bit about your website, how it strengthens your drive to share your brother's story as well?
Yeah, so the whole thing is push, pull, lift, push out the negative, pull in the positive, lift people up. So it started with just kind of getting out there, doing the mindset training, and then the book came out, and then Instagram hit, and then people were saying, "Well, how can I kind of stay with this? How can I keep focused? How can I?" So that's where the website came from, is to tell my backstory and say, "Hey, this is somebody that is my hero and my personal hero, and a good story to grab onto. Maybe that'll help you." And then that moved into some of the positivity gear because I think there in life you need to leave breadcrumbs to remind yourself how great the world is. So whether it's a bracelet or a hat or a t-shirt or a workout shirt or whatever it is, right? We kind of have our new branding or tagline where we're the Nike of mindset and positivity, right? When you wear Nike, you think you're going to run faster, you think you're going to be this athlete, you think you're going to be everything that Nike stands for. Well, why isn't there a positivity brand out there to say, oh, you know what, I'm having a bad day. You know, instead of wearing a lot of people wear a rubber band that snaps their wrist to kind of snap them out of it. It's a mindset thing. Why not just have a bracelet that says, hey, this is what I'm focused on. These are what my goals are. These are where I'm going. Does it fit within my vision? Does it fit within my plan? So that's where that grew out of, was people saying, hey, is there something else I can do to make sure I don't get off target, and make sure that I'm constantly reminded and constantly thinking about it. So that's where the brand items came from.
I think that's great. And you're right. When, we put up vision boards, we put up words, we put up a lot of things around our house. And that's because we want to be reminded, we don't want to be elevated, into that world because we enjoy that world, right? Who enjoys being depressed, honestly?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
No one wants to come around you. We enjoy wanting to be around people as well. So I think it's great. If you're wearing it, you're promoting that out into the world. People are seeing it. They're thinking, hey, I could talk to this person. Look at this shirt. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Absolutely. And I do agree. I think you mentioned earlier that the world's changing into that direction. There's a lot of transformation happening. And I think with the COVID happening now too, there's a lot of that happening, as well. We're seeing such diversity in certain areas, but we're also seeing a lot of growth and pivoting and changing and mindset, uh, different differentials. I think it's great. What 3 tips can you share to empower our listeners to push, pull, lift in their life?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say really focus on gratitude, right? That's first and foremost. That's going to be the main step in anybody's journey, is every day find something to be grateful for. If not, just saying the words thank you, fire that dopamine in your head.
Mhm.
And then eventually you start to think about what I'm actually thankful for, right? You can't really say something in your head without your mind trying to do a cause and effect. So you'll start to really engage with that. I would say engage with your post, engage with everything that you're putting out there. I think our conversation lifted me up that day. And I think you're a great person to follow. I think you're motivational. I think you have a lot of things that people can sink their teeth into, and really enhance their lives. And then the final thing is, if exactly what you said about self-reflecting, take a mental, and it's a hard question to ask yourself, but take a mental inventory of where you are right now, and is that where you want to be, and is that the person you want to be? And then every day, make a vote for that person that you want to be, whether it's an action, whether it's a statement, whether it's a post, whether it's something. Put out whatever you want to be. I want to be an entrepreneur. Well, every day do something to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a life coach. I want to be a better dad or mom. I want to be a better brother or sister. Every day do something intentional to make a vote for that person, right? Like, what are you doing? A lot of people, exactly what you said, I have quotes all over the place. They just stay on the wall. Exactly what Chad Wright said, right? He said, go out and do it. So make a vote every day for that person that you want to be. I think those 3 things are very simple, little 2-minute drills. And it can get you to the next step.
That's powerful, man. Powerful. And you know, I action absolutely is the key. And I think asking questions to ourselves sometimes are the toughest questions to answer or even to ask. Like to ask the right question. And I see, the more millionaires as I paint, I got to research them, but I see patterns. Even Jesse brings out certain questions that you need to ask. He teaches you so many in that, that direction. I want to thank you for today. So where can our listeners find you on social media?
Yeah, Instagram's the best place. Push.pull.lift. That's where I interact the most. DMs. Now it's nice that Facebook and everything's kind of together, so the messages come up. But that's where I'm more active, is on Instagram.
Excellent, John. You really pulled us into so many different ways, and I want to thank you and your brother Kevin, for bringing such a unique life of energy into this world. That I can see it. It's become your mission, and it's such an honorable mission. What you've learned and created, and how you're bringing that out and putting that out to the world to help empower others. And I can feel that leadership in you, because you kept telling me about what I'm doing and how good it is. And today's about you, and that shows me leadership in you, because you're not talking about you. You want to talk about others. You want to help others, and I see that value, and I want to thank you for that a lot.
Oh, I thank you for the opportunity today. I love all your posts, everything you're putting out there, the podcast, the business. I just love it. So thank you for the opportunity to share my brother's story. It is an honor to honor him. And I appreciate the ability to tell that story.
Absolutely. Thanks, John.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like to see more podcast interviews, you can check them out right here. They're exactly what you need to hear next. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and become part of the community, and tell me what you think about the podcast interviews in the comments below. I read all of them every week. And join my Mind Power Mastery group by hitting the link in the description.